G'day all, welcome back to the workbench. Okay, this is February's video of the Year of Airfix. Now it's coming late, as I've actually been a bit busy doing other things. So this is Airfix's old Ju-87 kit that was released in a bubble package. As you can see there, I got my face into the video. Actually, I've been trying to reposition my camera a bit to better improve things. Anyway, starting off with RLM 02 into the cockpit area, just before I shaved out some of the cockpit structures so that I can actually slide the pilots in and out. There wasn't enough room there for that. This kit comes with a lot of raised details, so I'm just going through and sanding it all off. Some people don't like doing this. I like doing it. That is putting glue on both sides of parts to be joined, then joining them up. Then I run some thin glue down the joint just to help it a bit better. The reason I add glue to both parts is it actually helps the parts bind a bit better from my point of view. Whereas when you're putting solvent on one side, the other side meshes up, but it's not really a strong bond as both sides being softened and pushed together. I've used several clamps and wooden pegs to put everything together, hold it all together. This kit was slightly warped. That's the need for the pegs and the clamps to hold everything together again. Wings went together okay, just had to clamp them a bit. There is some pinholes on the rear horizontal stabilizers which had to be filled and sanded. I'm rescribing the lines here a bit. Also started tinkering with the idea of adding new lines to the rear stabilizers, but it wasn't really worth it. So I just later on I ran the rivet wheel over it to create some rivets. Okay, I'm using Squadron white putty here, and I thinned it down with a bit of lacquer thinner from Tamiya and just applying it to the model. It comes out a bit dry, this compound. It's quite good. It sets up within a couple of about 20 minutes, and you can sand it. However, though, because it is dry, it becomes a bit hard to work, especially in a warm climate where I am. I'm building this kit out of the box, so there's really no modifications to the kit. There was the stand hole in the bottom of the fuselage. I just filled that up with 2 chunks of sprue that were just cut sized and wedged in. Continuing more with the raised panel lines and sanding away the putty. I had some issues. I test fitted the spinner to the fuselage and found that there was a bit of a step on the nose between the top of the nose and the spinner itself. Referencing some documents on the computer, I found that this step was not meant to be there, so I had to do some bit of modification to the kit to bring that down to a proper size. Here I am putting on lines using a reference from schematics.com of where the rivets and panel lines should go. Most of what I'm doing here is marking out the panel lines, mainly on the main wing spar. I also did the fuselage, but the rear surface didn't require any. I use a dynamo tape as a guide, so it gives the flexibility of wrapping around the wing surface. Used a scribe tool, ran a scribe tool over the joint or the area about 4 times to create the line. Now I've come back and I'm using freehand rivet wheel and correcting some mistakes as well to put in the rivets along those joint lines, and also to give an idea where the ribs are. As I've done one wing, I use that wing as a guide or reference for the other wing to ensure that everything looks similar. The undersurface required a bit more work. There was some discrepancies between the schematics I was referencing and the kit itself. Positions of a few panel lines were out, etc. And I ended up not worrying about the panel lines that were out, but adjusted all the lines, all the panel lines on the kit while I was marking them in. Because this is a Stuka Ju-87, the wings are the wonky wing. It's got a bent in it or kink in it, so it made doing the bottom surface on the table a bit difficult. So at times I'm doing freehand, other times I actually brought it out of shot and did it on the edge of the desk. Once again, using one to reference the other. Use a bit of a steel rule here to help a bit, and then using the dynamo tape as well. Once again, applying the rivets with a rivet wheel. If you ever do rivets freehand with a rivet wheel, just be aware that you will make mistakes and you need to correct them up. I've actually primed this kit earlier on with white Tamiya primer, which is what I'm doing all the riveting and panel lines over. Gives a better surface to see what you're actually doing. The kit comes as a silver plastic, so if you're using graphite pencil, it makes it a lot easier priming it in white to see what you've done. And also too, the white, once you start scribing, you scribe away the paint, then you scribe into the surface, and you start to see the difference between the silver and the white colours come through. Here I'm onto the fuselage, doing the panel lines on the fuselage. There is some of the panel lines that were extremely difficult to do because the exhausts in the engine were moulded into the kit. So it was extremely difficult to do some of these. And once again, using the rivet reel. One thing that's extremely difficult with this is the rivet wheel. You actually had to turn, you saw me twisting the fuselage around to continue the rivets around the fuselage. The wings are being glued on now, using one method before I was describing, glue on both surfaces and thin glue once they're finished, and using the steel rule to check the alignment, make sure the wings were the same angle on both sides, that were square up with the top of the cockpit. At one stage was using the lines on my cutting mat there as a guide to visually line up the wings with the fuselage. Once again, this horizontal stabilizer has been applied. We're using the same technique of using steel rule. I'm using tape here to keep the rear stabilizers lined up correctly. Some reason the glue wasn't setting quick enough, even though to me cement settings are set quickly, and it was causing problems because every time you stuck it, left it on the table, the wings would droop. Then onto the landing gear. The landing gear had several dimples in both sides of the landing gear, so I had to putty them up, sand them back and glue them on. The kit comes with two struts that connect to the fuselage to the horizontal stabilizers. I left them off due to painting. I was going to put them on after I finished painting. This is the trailing edge diving brake or speed brake. I don't know what this actually is. It's at the bottom of the fuselage, the wings at the rear of the wing. They were a bit of a challenge to put on, as I think they had one connection that was not molded into the part properly. Using tape to secure them down while the glue dries. A few pegs as well to assist. Once the glue was dry, everything was given a sand back. I touch up with some of the panel lines, and now I'm trying to dry fit a few parts of the kit to make sure everything was lined up properly. I'm using Tamiya 1000 primer to fix up some of the joints between the wings and the fuselage. I'm using lacquer thinner to just tidy up so I don't have to worry about sanding. Now onto the pilots. The pilots were painted up using intermediate blue, black, yellow, a bit of flesh tone as well for the faces. The yellow was a Citadel sand colour, I believe it was. This is for the life preserver vest. The pilots were fairly simple. They were easy to paint up. Using various devices here, pegs and tweezers just to hold the pilots while I'm painting. As finally, I use a wash of sepia tone over the figures just to give a bit of detail. And now to fit them to the cockpit. The original pegs inside the cockpit were difficult to use and to glue the pilots to, so I instead cut them out and used tube styrene, fixed the pilots to it with super glue, and cut these to length and inserted into the cockpit. This required a bit of adjusting due to the canopy hitting the top of some of the figures' heads. Using Humbrol Clear, I painted inside of the canopy. That's it for part 1. I'll catch you all in part 2.